What's up, Kathy? Options aren't easy. That's the first thing. So you want to, your first time, you don't want to do too much. Do as little as you can. That's my advice. And for options, what I would do is I'd pick a stock you're already comfortable with. Let's say it's Microsoft. You know Microsoft really well. And instead of buying the Microsoft stock, try to buy some Microsoft in the money call options. And it'll cost you less money and you'll get more volatility out of it. Now that's also a blessing and a curse. You can easily lose your whole account with stock options, or you can make a lot. Most people lose their whole account. So you gotta be very, very careful. What else can I tell you about options? Notice how if it's Kathy, she's a Godel subscriber, she's a woman's name, I'm gonna explain options like it's to a 5-year-old. I don't care what. If it's anybody else asking, I'm like, man, you gotta learn options yourself. What the fuck do I look like? Why should I help you? No, I'm gonna sit with my hands and knees like, I'll explain everything to you, baby. I got you. So, you know, if the Microsoft, an option is the right to buy or right to sell. That's right, Alexa. So an option is a right to buy or a right to sell. You are purchasing, it's almost as if you're purchasing a little piece of paper. That's a contract from whoever the seller is. It's usually, you just say it's the market, from Mr. Market to you. And it's almost more fun to trade these pieces of paper than the actual stock. Let's pretend this is 100 shares. So like a bill of Microsoft, and there's Bill Gates' face in the middle. You could trade this. What's Microsoft's stock price right now? For $4.24. Or you could trade these pieces of paper. And on Godel, you do OMON. That's also the Bloomberg symbol. So you learn both systems. And you do Microsoft OMON, and you have all the options. There's two kinds of options: call or a put. I had to teach this to a friend of mine who's now a top hedge fund manager. This was 20 years ago. Call up and you put down. So when I call you up, I might put you down. So that's how you know. The call is the right to buy, which, you know, is kind of go up. And the put is the right to sell, which is kind of go down. So in this piece of paper, this options contract, you got to specify the type, put or call. You can even just do P or C, right? So let's do call. And the other big thing is the strike. You can pick any strike you want, but we're going to do something called in the money. So the money, the price of Microsoft is $4.20. So this is the chart of Microsoft, let's say. This is $4.20. So in the money for a call is something below $4.20. So at $300, you're deep in the money. At $400, you're still in the money. At say $4.19, some people call it, say, at the money. At the money. In the money. And then at $4.40 or more, probably call that out of the money. Okay? Great. So the strike we're going to pick for this is 400. So we're in the money calls. Now what is the right to buy a stock at 400 worth if that stock is trading at 424? Well, obviously it's worth at least $24.05. So instead of trading this for 424, you can just trade this for $24. And that's a pretty wild thing. You know, it's a really different thing. Now there's a lot of issues here. One, this contract's worth more than 2405. Why? Because you could theoretically buy this contract, short the stock, and you would have a free put. So we'll go into that some other time. But if Microsoft went to 500 and you own this call option would be worth $100 because you have the right to buy it at 400. And the right to buy something at 400 is worth $100. And you could sell this to anybody. They'd immediately use it, cash in their chip, and say, I made $100. So if you sold this for 99.5, somebody would snap it up and say, I'll make free 50 cents. But if you had the stock, you would only go from 424 to 500, which is a good gain. It's about a 20% gain. If you bought the stock, that's plus 20%. But if you bought the option, it's plus 300%. So you can see how options kind of magnify your gains and loss. Now what happens if Microsoft went to 300? Well, you'd still own the stock. And even though it went from 424 to 300, you're down 33%, but you're not out of the game. With options, you got a bunch of issues. These options expire, so you have an expiry. Let's say the expiry is next week or tomorrow. You know, the longer you have for expiry, the more your option's going to be trading for, the more it's worth. But if this went to 300, the right to buy a stock at 400, if it's trading at 300, is worthless. You just toilet paper. You just throw it away because you could just buy the stock in the stock market for 300. Why do you need a right to buy it at 400? So with the options, you lose 100%. You lose every cent. So that's basically how options work. There's a lot more to learn, but that's a basic kind of level 1, if you will, of buying options. When you combine them with trading stock, whether you're long or short, you can have a lot of complex strategies and payoffs. But at the end of the day, the only question you really always have to ask yourself is, what is my payoff chart? So the payoff chart is a really simple idea. There's some chart that exists that explains your payout. That payout is basically, this is $0, right? This is break even. And here's the stock price. And let's say it's 0%. And here's negative 5%, negative 10, etc. And of course, here's plus 5%, plus 10%. No matter how complicated your option strategy is, right? No matter how complicated, you're going to have some payout chart. Now this is, this is what a call option sort of looks like. Something like that. And there's lots of ways to manipulate this. They're usually going to be at right angles, but you could have an options chart that looks like this, where this is buying vol. You can have an options chart that looks like this. This is selling vol. You could have all types of ways to explain options, your payout. But no matter what your complicated payout is, something crazy like this I did once, you know, and you're basically trying to replicate, okay, I think this is what's going to happen in real life. So my option strategy pays me a ton if it goes down 5%, pays me a ton if it goes up more than 10%, but I lose if it's up a little bit, and I lose if it's down a lot of it. So you put on a complex trade like this, you know, at the end of the day, no matter how many instruments it takes to do this with common stock, calls, puts, selling and buying, you're still, at the end of the day, you can explain it all in a payout chart. So that's my brief tutorial on options. Like I said, I wouldn't do that for anyone, but if you're a Godel subscriber, I work for you, technically.